Hey everybody, my name is Andrew Davis and you're watching Conversations in Pop Culture. And yes, I am hard to kill. And I do want to remind everybody that this episode is brought to you by my sponsor and a good friend of mine, his company Pocket Jack Comics, who have books like Palace of the Golden Princess and White Lily, which have beautiful art around them. So you can go find those books at pocketjackcomics.com. But enough about that, because I have with me model, adult performer, might be a good way to put it, business owner, the brainchild of Ultimate Surrender and Evolve Fights, Ariel X. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited because obviously, as I stated at the start of this, you are the brainchild of Ultimate Surrender, Evolve Fights. That's how I think most people know who you are. But I don't want to steal your thunder. So why don't you introduce who you are for those who don't know and have been living under a rock and have never experienced kink by putting it nicely.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm Ariel X. I've been in the adult industry since 2003. So that's over 2 decades in the industry. I started out fetish modeling and got invited to shoot at kink.com for, I think their water bondage site was the first site I shot for. And then there was a guy over there who was directing some of the bondage sites, and he actually started Ultimate Surrender. His name was Matt Williams. So he started Ultimate Surrender. He borrowed the idea off of another wrestling company called Academy Wrestling. And I had been shooting, I've shot for Academy Wrestling and Ultimate Surrender. And my first match I lost at Ultimate Surrender, and I was made so humble. I decided I needed to figure out the skills it would take to actually win a match. So I started training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in 2006, and I became so good on Ultimate Surrender, being one of the only porn stars to train wrestling. I was able to beat up all the other porn stars who weren't wrestling. So I got a pretty good name on Ultimate Surrender because of that. And so it wasn't my brainchild, but because Kink did decide to close Ultimate Surrender, they had invited me over to start directing for it because they were going to close it. They were getting a lot of injuries over there. And because I had so much skill and training in wrestling and jiu-jitsu, I was able to mitigate a lot of those injuries and risks for the company. So they took me on board as the director there for, I'm going to say 6 years I was there, maybe 4. It blends in performing for them and directing for them. But
so let's talk about this a little bit, because I love Ultimate Surrender. And I love exactly what it is, where I love the wrestling aspect of it. I'm a big wrestling fan of just regular WWE, all that stuff, a lot of the indie stuff. I like session wrestling. And then I like the fact that, and I'll say it the nicest way I can say it and hope I won't get in trouble, I like really sexy women wrestling in bikinis. And well, the loser, if you don't know Ultimate Surrender, it's pretty hot. That's all I'm gonna say.
Sure. So let me ask you, because I know why I like it as a performer doing the actual wrestling, but what's so exciting about watching it?
I don't know. Look, this is gonna sound so weird, and I might just lose all my sponsors if I say this, but I like the idea of, you get that wrestling, and then you get the penalty, and then you get like a form of female domination. And mostly Ultimate Surrender, of the stuff that I've watched, is that it's kind of female domination on female, and it's just like, it's sexy, it's fun, it's kinky, and it's like, I don't want to say it's mean, but there is a little bit of meanness in there too. And like, it's just like a sexy, hot, like kinky shoot. Like, I don't know how to explain it any other way. Like, and like, it's the whole thing. And so it's just like, yeah.
That's
So
fair.
like,
I like that. I like that description. So I definitely, as a performer, being one of the females who gets to be mean and gets to be mean too, I see what you're saying. And it adds an element of opportunity, I think. If you watch your standard BDSM, dominating female scene, there's typically one who's booked to be the top and one who's booked to be the bottom. And when I started my career in adults, that's just how the shoots went. This girl's booked to top you and you're booked to bottom, and that's the roles you're going to play, and that's just it. And when I was invited to Ultimate Surrender, they dangled this carrot in front of your face. They're like, hey, if you can overpower this female, you get to dominate her. So it wasn't that you were cast in the role to be the dom and she's the sub. You had to earn it. And to me, that was way more exciting than just being given a role of, okay, you're the top now, just do it. So it was really fun. And it was like, sometimes if you really enjoy, well, for me, when I enjoy working with a female, I sometimes, as a submissive, you'll let them win. And I had to learn that that's not competitive. I had to learn what competitive was. And so it was a really fun roller coaster for me to start playing with when I started wrestling, as opposed to doing the fetish stuff.
Yeah, no, because again, this goes into the whole thing with Ultimate Surrender. I think you said it really well, where there's almost a carrot in there, and then obviously I have my favorite performers, and it's weird because on the one hand I want them to win and be the dominant one, but I also love watching certain women lose in Ultimate Surrender. I mean, I love watching Bella Rossi lose in Ultimate Surrender. I'm not gonna lie, I like watching her lose in Evolve fights too,
Yeah.
because she's really hot when she loses. And so it's like a weird dichotomy for me as a fan of all this stuff, where I'm just like, cool, like we're getting some wrestling, and is this person gonna go? And then there's just been some rivalries throughout all the Evolve fights and even Ultimate Surrender between 2, 4, 5, 6 people who have constantly, I guess, have won wins over each other. And that's the other thing too, is that even though it's not a story, there is some in there that if you watch enough of it, it's just like, there you go. So it's kind of that whole thing.
Oh, I love that you picked up on that. Yeah, there was a lot of camaraderie with the girls on Ultimate Surrender, and there was some rivalry, but at the end of the day, I think everyone got along with everyone, because you're going to work with them regularly. There's no reason to be cunty to each other, but there definitely was a lot of fun relationships built there, and I'm glad that was translated to the audience through the work we did, because we had some fun characters for sure.
Yeah, and even to go further into this, because there's like a few things that I absolutely love. So I loved your win over Bella Rossi, and I forget, I think it was for like a championship, and that whole ending scene was just amazing when you brought it to the men's bathroom. I thought it was really playful in a lot of ways. And then, it's just taking like the trash and just dumping it on her. I thought that was really fun. And again, like Evolve fights, I don't think is that extreme.
No, we focus more on sex fighting than the humiliation part of the wrestling. And the reason I changed from Ultimate Surrender being, I felt it was, let's see how we can humiliate the loser. I thought, well, losing's humiliating enough. Like, I don't need to see that. But we try to highlight the strengths of our wrestlers in Evolved fights and make it more fun and campy, as opposed to, oh, this loser, they suck, let's throw trash on them, which is, it's cute and fun, but it's also pretty juvenile in a sense, which is, great for, there's a time and place for that. But we've definitely taken that out of Evolved fights for sure.
And then the other thing I want to talk about Ultimate Surrender before we get into Evolve fights is the whole Mistress Kara thing, because there was a point where you were the top dominating dog, for lack of a better word, in Ultimate Surrender, and then Mistress Kara was almost undefeated. And then there's that whole build up between the two of you. I think there were some tag teams and coaching involved, and that was another one of those big moments, I feel, that was really, really cool, because we get the ultimate match between you and her, of being arguably the two top stars out of Ultimate Surrender.
Yeah, I don't think she's ever beat me on any of the like for the competitive matches we've done, she's never beat me. But there was another girl before Cara was Dia Zerva, who she got me when I was first starting my training. And so she was able to beat me. And then when I started training, then I came back and beat her. And we had what they call rubber matches where one person would beat one and then the other would beat them. And then it goes back and forth.
Yeah, no. No, 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 no. I find it fascinating, but I do want to talk about Evolve fights because that's what I know you even more from than Ultimate Surrender. But I know a lot of Ultimate Surrender, and obviously Evolve fights I think is fascinating for a bunch of different reasons. It's yours, so it's your whole thing. I mean, Ultimate Surrender is no longer in existence, and people want to see wrestling, they want to see sex fighting, they want to see all that, and so what prompted you to want to go build this out? Because it's a pretty intense platform now.
Yeah, thank you. So Kink decided they no longer wanted to produce female wrestling videos. When I was working for Kink, I had been doing session wrestlings, which you mentioned a little bit earlier. Well, I can talk about that for some people who have no idea what that is.
Jen
Um,
Thomas, name to drop.
who is this?
Jen
Oh
Thomas.
yes, she's amazing. She's got the whole
I love Jen
session girls
Thomas.
website. She's amazing. Yeah, we'll get into that after, but um, so Kink wanted nothing to do with Ultimate Surrender, and they were closing all of their production. They were actually going to stop producing porn. They were deciding to go into tech. I guess they were deciding, hey, we're a tech company now, we're no longer a porn company. So they dissolved a lot of their websites, and Ultimate Surrender was one of those. So while I was shooting for them, so before they decided to dissolve, they said, hey, we want to open more sites, everyone do test shoots, let's see what ideas we can get going. And I did a couple mixed wrestling test shoots for Kink, and they sold like hotcakes. So I had this awesome, already tried and true way to shoot and idea. And eventually Kink at that point decided, we don't want to produce anymore. We're not going to take on any more ideas. Mixed wrestling's out. Guess what? Lesbian wrestling is out. We don't want it. So goodbye. Have a nice day. And I asked them if I could just take it over. Like, hey, if you guys are done with it, do you mind if I go ahead and start my own site? They said, knock yourself out, kid. So I went ahead and I knocked myself out. And that was a pretty scary time in my life because it was the first time I was always working for myself as a performer, but it was really the first time I started my own actual company. So I had to I had to find a studio that would allow that type of content because believe it or not every building owner wants porn to be shot in their building. So I had to find a place where it was zoned properly and find a landlord who would accept it and all the things. So that was something I wasn't used to. So it's stressful. And then the building out of the set, finding models. And to be honest, Ultimate Surrender had kind of a bad reputation. Kink was getting, a lot of models complaining about certain things. And people saw Ultimate Surrender, girls getting trash thrown on them. And they're like, I don't really want to do that. That's not my thing. So it was hard to find talent at first. And as I started proving that the content was a little bit more campy and fun and friendly and sexy, I was able to, I guess, get the trust of performers where they're like, okay, I get treated well here and I don't get trash thrown on me. So this is going to be a good thing for me to do. So let's go ahead and have fun with this. And now models come begging to come shoot for me. And it's a blessing. I love every moment of it.
So there's a lot to unpack. So I want to start at the basics of it. Is that obviously when you're starting your own business, that's a whole different ball game versus when you are just a performer or you're a director or you have some say in it, but you don't own it. Because when you're an owner of something, that's a whole different ballgame on everything you're doing because everything you produce has your name on it. And
Mhm.
so I would imagine that's also very different. And also at this point, and even now, I mean, there's some session wrestling, there's custom wrestling, there's other things out there, but there is nothing like Evolve fights to the level that it's done and the way you guys do it. And so, what is that like too? Because you ran with a concept, and obviously, it's a top, performing platform in a lot of ways. And so, what is that like for you? Because the industry is complicated, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Well, thank you for all those kind words. So, I'll start with, yeah, when you go from working for a company, try the thought of working for yourself is terrifying. And I think anyone who works for a company right now currently and is not working for themselves can attest to this, where they probably know they should start their own business. They get treated like crap by their employer. They don't get to make their own hours. Everyone complains about their boss. Everyone who works for somebody, they just bitch and bitch and bitch, but they could start their own business. Some people will argue, no, I can't. I have kids to feed. I have this. Yes, you can. You could do whatever you put your mind to. If there's a will, there's a way. You can make it work. So it's terrifying to think about, but absolutely anyone can do it if you put your mind to it. So I had to have that mindset. I could have easily just gone back to just being a performer and still making good money. We talked about the wrestling sessions, which I was making great money and getting to travel to meet really amazing human beings. And I could have just stepped back into that role, but I saw the potential. I saw that kink was giving up on something, and I knew it was going to do well because I did the test shoots and I saw how well they were going to sell. And kink.com is a multi-million dollar company. So if they want to throw away a website that only makes them a couple $1,000,000 a year, that's no big deal to them. But for a person like me to start a website and go, hey, maybe I can make that couple hundred million, not $100 million. If I can make that couple, maybe $1 million a year, that's great for me. So, for one man's trash is another man's treasure. So it wasn't worth it to them. The amount of money it was making was, small potatoes to them, but that was big potatoes to me. So I was more than willing to go ahead and start that up. And it took a lot out of me. Like, it was exhausting. It was, I got told no more than I can remember, trying to find places that would allow me to shoot that kind of content, people laughing me right out of their door, but you just keep going. You're like, okay, well, I'll make this work somehow. So, yeah, when you want something, everything else in life is easy. Once you know what you want, it's like the universe conspires to make it happen for you. You just have to want it bad enough.
Fair enough, fair enough. And then to even go further into this, because this is where I think Evolve fights get so interesting. And again, I know a lot of the lesbian side of it, for lack of a better word. Hopefully, I could say that. I don't know if I could say that. Evolve less fights, right? I mean,
Uh-huh.
that's the stuff that I enjoy because it's hot and a lot of women wrestling is really great. I mean, it's awesome. So, but what was that like? Because now, I mean, going to the beginning to now, I mean, you have so many models from so many different walks of life and components, and you touch everything. I mean, you touch everything from Kelly Provocateur to Bella Inc. And then you have, Daisy Ducati and Bella Rossi, and Carissa Montgomery comes in and out a little bit every once in a while, and a bunch of other people. And so, what is that like? Because those, I think, 4 or 5 women I just mentioned are all from different places in the world. They all
Mm-hmm.
have different backgrounds. They all have different wrestling experience. They all have, different, I guess, life experiences. And what is that like? Genevieve Hex is another one that's
Mm-hmm.
fascinating. And so, what is that like? Because it's a diverse wrestling company, and
Mhm.
it's so interesting because there's anything that you go on Evolve Fights, any model you wanna see wrestle, you could relatively get. I would be damned it's a challenge. Somebody should go on your site as they listen to this and say, This is the type of girl I like to see fight," and I think you'll find it. And so what is that like? Because that's the other thing that's really interesting about Evolve Fights in particular is that you have everything there. So I don't think that somebody can go on your site and be unhappy with something.
People will always find a reason to bitch about something. I'm sure when you post your
Fair
podcast,
enough.
you get someone who's like, "I didn't like the way you snorted at 2 minutes and 7 seconds into the," you're like, "Okay, all right." But so the one thing all those models have in common is they're all athletes. You can take, it doesn't matter where you take them out of, if they're from, New York, Florida, Texas, wherever, they're all athletes and they're all professionals who show up on time. They know they're going to get bumped and bruised a little bit. It's wrestling, that's inherent to the sport, and they're okay with that. We're not going to get your foo-foo porn star who, I've had porn stars turn me down and say, "No, I don't want to get bruised." You know, a lot of mainstream shoots in porn, they'll send you home if you have a bruised up knee or tushy. So, the girls don't want to lose work if they come to my mats and their knees get all bruised up from getting, bumped around on the wrestling mat. I get that. I don't get offended by it. I understand, you know, if it is going to lose you money, there's no reason for you to do it. But and some girls, I've had models who had domestic violence backgrounds who refused to do wrestling because it triggered them. And I get that too. I personally believe that if they were to come on my mats and have a great time with the wrestling, they might be able to overcome some of their fears of aggression. But I'm not a therapist and I'm not going to force anyone to do that either. But, so yeah, people say no to me sometimes. But in general, the type of people who are going to come on my mats, even though you can point out they all look different, they all have the very same similar aspect of them. Is they're just badass females who want to show off how badass they are.
No, I mean that's why I like it. I mean, I have my favorites. I'm not gonna lie, and I have a type that I enjoy, and I also like just seeing really, 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 hot wrestling happen. But to even go further into this, because I could name drop a bunch of people who've been on. Obviously Bella Rossi has been there. I love Chris Montgomery. Lauren Phillips has shot with you, and to some degree, when you go through the names of people who have worked with you, Savannah Fox is another one. Like, I mean, all these people have done so much in the industry, and then they come to Evolve Fights, and it's almost like a badge of honor to be part of Evolve Fights because there's nothing like it on the internet right now to this degree, as I stated before, and it's a really big platform. And so, what is that like too? Because obviously, you've built something that people want to be part of, and that's always fascinating when somebody says, "I want to be here," and that anytime Ariel calls me and she's got a match for me, I'm gonna be there because there's a bunch of people who might not know somebody, and then they're on Evolve Fights, and well, it reaches a wide audience. And I think it's so interesting.
I love that you are saying that. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. And I do want to pat myself on the shoulder. I do think I've built a brand that people do like to shoot for. I do feel that I have a good reputation in the industry because I treat people well. I think treating people well goes a long way. I think my fans appreciate that I treat them well. I think a lot of performers will treat fans, I'm not going to say poorly, but they're certainly not nice to every single one of them. I mean, I'm not nice to people who are going to be complete dicks to me, but I'm not going to be rude to them either. I just won't give them my time of day. But having a good reputation and treating people well goes a long way. And at AVN this year, we just had in January at the Hard Rock, or no, I'm sorry, not the Hard Rock, the Virgin, the old Hard Rock. Now it's the Virgin. At the Virgin Hotel, Evolve Fights had its own booth, and it really touched my heart to have so many performers come up who were eager to meet me and wanting to work for Evolved Fights. And like, I had a line of models just coming to see the booth because they wanted an opportunity to talk to me, to be like, I really want to shoot for you. I love it. And that to me, you know, that was one of the moments in my life where I went, God, I guess this is what I wanted. This is where I wanted to be. I wanted people to be beating down my door to come work for me because my site's awesome. And here it is. I manifested it, you know. It's amazing. It's great.
You mentioned something that I want to touch upon that I actually think is a collective problem right now in the world, and it's customer service and fan interaction.
Mm,
And so obviously I run an eBay business where I buy and sell cards and comic books. Sometimes something takes longer to get in. I let my clients know, and because of that, they want it and they understand that something's going to take 100 days and not 80. And most
mhm,
people are like, I'm okay with that because you keep me informed. And then, or, I say, look, why don't you reach back to me every month? And if I don't have it, I'll tell you, hey, look, this is the order number. This is what's going on with the card. It's just not built yet. I don't know what to tell you. But the second I have it and it's shipped out, I'm getting you a tracking number, and you just got to trust me and wait. And
mhm.
most people, they just want communication and they don't want to be told to fuck off.
Yes, I agree
It-
with that.
so it's the same way I approach interviews. It's the same way I approach people. And my rule of thumb is that I'm not going to tell you to fuck off, but if you tell me to fuck off, well, you're going to get a fuck off back.
Yeah.
So it's how you treat me. And if you treat me like shit, I mean, A, my money leaves, and B, I'm going to tell you what I think. And I'm going to say, look, I didn't treat you poorly, so why are you treating me poorly? But I think that's a real issue right now. And then I think the other issue, and it goes back to comics, is that people want to be paid on time. If you hand in a comic book cover, as an artist, you should be paid when you hand it in. And I would imagine that in the adult industry, that people want to be paid too on time or after they do a shoot or within a reasonable amount of time within 3 days, if at all. I mean, I don't know the standards of the industry, but I would imagine that's a problem. And it's an issue because if somebody's not getting paid, I mean, that's a real big problem.
That's only really happened to me, I think it's happened to me twice in my life in the career. I don't think it's super common in the adult industry that you don't get paid, but that
I
from
don't know. I
my
don't know.
experience. But
I'm not
that's an example of not treating people well. So yeah, there's other ways in our industry that performers are not treated well. Um, I hope that none of my models ever experience that. There also goes a point where, some people just they have a totally different perception of an experience as somebody else. Like, I can have two wrestlers on the mat and one could be having a great time and one could be miserable, and I have no control over the one who's miserable. I don't know what's going on in their life. All I can do is adjust how I treat people and how I allow whatever energy they're putting off to affect me. So if one model has, bad attitude and they're acting stinky, I try to be nice still, and I don't take it personally. And they got something going on, that's on them. But yeah, there's the industry isn't perfect. I'd be a liar if I told you, oh no, everyone's treated just amazing. It's the most amazing thing. Everyone should do it, because it's just not a reality that I could, show you article after article of, performers having horrible things done to them. But I can show you that for any industry. You could you work in a bank or be an attorney and still have sexual harassment and bullying at work and a hostile work environment. So people are people, you're going to have shitty people everywhere. All we can do is decide that we are going to be the change in the world we want to see, and be that change and treat people right.
No, I don't disagree. I don't disagree. But to go further into Evolve Fights, because I love this entire thing, and I love even how the website is set up. And the other thing I like about it is that you do have mixed wrestling there too, And that is fascinating because that's always fun to watch too sometimes with a similar concept. And there's some fun stuff there, but I like the fact that your website is set up in a unique way where I think you can buy a monthly or yearly pass and watch it unlimitedly, or you
Mm.
can buy scenes. And I like that model a lot because, as I stated, I have my favorites. I don't think I'm the only one who has certain people they enjoy watching. And, I mean, there's certain, I mean, I'm not trying to sound mean when I say this, but like there's certain performers that are just not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be as polite as I can.
No, I
Um,
get it.
but like I love Lauren Phillips, right? So
Mhm.
anything Lauren Phillips is in, and I love when Lauren Phillips loses more than if she ever wins, just because I just love she plays it so well. I'm sorry. It's like it's terrible. But not the point. Um, oh my god, just interviewing Lauren Phillips would be something else.
You should
Girl's
reach
so
out to her. She's a sweetheart. She's a really sweet human being, and,
she
you know
seems
what
like it. She seems like it. She seems like a blast and fun.
she
Um,
is. She's a really she I mean, at least to me, I'm sure somebody has a story. Like I said, everyone has different perspectives. I'm sure there's somebody out there who's like, "She's a cunt." And I'm like, "Okay, well,
yeah.
she's always great to me. I don't know what to tell you." But
But,
I
but
and
the point that I'm getting at and where I'm going with this is that I can just buy a scene and then I could be thrilled because I got what I wanted, or I could buy the whole thing and do it monthly. And I think it's such a good business model because it provides choice and it allows me to figure out what I want to do and what I want. And so, like, I think it's actually a really smart business model that I can individually buy what I want.
yeah, I'm glad that you appreciate that. I like it as well for the same reason as you, right? Like if I only want to see this one model, like Lauren Phillips or um who else is another one of my absolute favorite, London River. I don't have to pay that monthly subscription because I don't know, she might not be on this month, but maybe I get an email that she's going to be in this new scene on Evolved Fights, and then I can just buy that one scene and not have to, have anxiety about spending money on things I won't really look at.
No, I think it's smart, because again, I don't know how you feel, but I've bought stuff both, in regular life and then I bought stuff in the adult stuff, and, like, you buy, like, a digital DVD and you want the one scene, but you can't buy the one scene and you gotta buy the rest, and it's 20 bucks, and I'd rather spend 6 bucks for just the one scene.
Yeah, totally. I hear you. I'm the same.
And so it's like, I'm just like, I'm glad I got what I wanted and I suck it up. But at the same time, I'm like, could you just sell me the one scene and I'll pay a bit of a premium because I want to get what I want. I
Yeah.
don't want to be any more. I'm 32 and I'm sick and tired of not getting what I want when I'm
Yes. I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. I could do what, Amazon started doing. They charge your subscription and now you have to buy the pay-per-view on some of these new releases that come out. That's such a jerky move, I swear. They're like, yeah, we'll take your money monthly for the subscription, but if you want to watch something new, you're going to pay us $19.99.
It's so complicated. It's so complicated, but I have so many thoughts in which I love Amazon, but I also hate Amazon.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I'm like, all right, fine, I take my money, idiots.
But I do want to touch upon something else too, because obviously this is where the whole adult industry, in my opinion, again, this is just from me looking at it, is that there's a lot of craziness in it right now. I don't know, politically, it's a nightmare because God forbid it's the Wild West that way. And every state, the federal government, nobody knows what the fuck they're doing in that way.
Mm.
I don't know what the deal is with porn up in Texas. It confused the hell out of me what's going on with that. And then furthermore, though, I mean, the bigger issue is pirating, clips being escaped, full matches being escaped, everything
Mhm.
that way. Also, some people want to release a trailer. And so, what is that like? Because on the one hand, if you have a 4-minute trailer or something, it could potentially get a bunch of people in and say, cool, what's this? I've never seen anything like it. What the hell is this? And it could drive traffic to you. But on the other hand, when a whole scene or a whole match of 45 minutes that you didn't bless to go out goes out, that's revenue out of your pocket. It's revenue
Mhm.
out of the performer's pocket. It's revenue that somebody else is claiming. And what is that like? Because it's a mess.
It is a mess. It's like playing whack-a-mole where you take down one and then 5 more pop up type of thing. So there's platforms that do DMCA takedown and copyright infringement stuff for you. You pay a shit ton of money to this company and they crawl the internet and they do these takedowns. Some of these companies are in territories that don't have any sort of contracts to, share information with the United States. So they don't give a shit. They're like, we don't need to follow your rules. So they're kind of a pain in the ass. And it's, you can do one of two things. Sometimes you can contact them and go, hey, I know you're stealing my shit. And I know I can't get you to take it down, but why don't we play nice and you become an affiliate for me and I'll actually pay you to promote my shoots. Just don't take the whole shoot. And sometimes they play along and sometimes they don't. And, it's like,
Let me ask you this, because this is a discussion came out about 6 months with somebody where it was the idea, why would anybody pay for porn and adult content? And it
mhm.
was a bunch of comic people talking about it. And I responded to them in this. I said, well, you want to support the people who you enjoy seeing. So it's not necessarily me paying to watch a match. It's the idea that if I don't pay, you might stop producing collectively.
Correct. That's true. But I'll do one. Nobody gives a shit about that. Let's be honest. Unless you're an artist, unless you are a creator, people don't give a shit about that. They're like, well, I should get it for free. It's just porn. So, that's the thing. But a lot of these people don't remember when the internet first came out and there was like a ton of these pirated sites out there. And if you clicked on it, you got virus, all types of, your computer gets locked out. Like, you want to get your porn from a trusted source. You don't want to be going on these torrent sites and these sites. You have no idea what you're clicking when you download.
Did
Like,
you ever see, I think it was Sierra Lynch did something where she made a video and she like freaked out a bunch of people. She said, I know all of you downloaded this clip that I did, and it's infected with a bunch of viruses that are going to fuck up your Hotmail or something like that.
mm,
And like it wasn't true, but it scared a lot of people.
why
And
would you do that?
because people were stealing her shit. So
Okay.
she was pissed off, from my understanding. And what she was trying to do is that she was trying to scare the living shit out of people to not steal her shit, which,
And
which I get. I thought it was funny because I thought it was the ultimate troll, right? I thought it was very trolling. I thought it was next level trolling, right? So I thought it was funny, but she had a point, right? Where it's like, and it's the point you just brought up, where it's like, you're stealing somebody's shit, and then also, do you want your computer to be infected?
well,
Do you want
correct, right? Like, you're downloading a video that was stolen. So that person is already a criminal. They already have morals. They don't give a shit about other people. Do you think they care about you and your computer? Like, why are you trusting this site over a porn site that legally we have to have all these protections for you? Like, why would you do that to yourself? What, to save a couple bucks and then now you need a new computer and your whole fucking identity's been stolen? Good
I don't
job.
even
Because
know.
you
I don't
wanted to
even
save a
know.
couple bucks? You're an
I
idiot.
don't even know if it's your computer that you should be worried about, because I don't think that if I downloaded porn illegally or stole it, my computer would be affected. I think the real concern is something like my credit card information being stolen or my Amazon account being stolen. Because I don't think anybody cares about my computer. I think they care about getting access to my bank account.
Well, if they have access to your computer, they have access to anything you've ever logged into. So that's your banks, your credit cards, your health insurance, whatever, anything you've ever logged into, any key you stroked on your keyboard, they can have access to that. So that is terrifying. If you're worried about your credit cards, you can cancel your credit cards. Credit card companies will do chargebacks. The debt in the United States on credit card is massive because half the people don't pay it because half of it's fraud. So if that's something you're worried about, your priorities are whack. You can always freeze your credit. You can go, okay, freeze my credit, go on Experian or whatever the credit companies are, freeze your credit so people don't open line of credits. But if your identity is stolen, your social security number's out there, like that's the bad day. That's why you don't want people getting in your computer.
No, I don't disagree. I don't want anybody anywhere near my computer. I mean, but I've also come to the position where at this point in the game, there is so much voice recognition of me out there that somebody who's going to steal my voice and try to do it, they're going to do it. And that's why you need two-way authenticators or three-way
Yes,
authenticators.
that's the new thing everyone's doing. And while it's a pain in our butt, it's the thing that's going to save us. So
I don't complain about it because I realize that when you have 1,200 interviews out there, some I'm not encouraging anybody to do it. So if you're thinking about doing it, don't do it, guys. But if somebody really wants to, they could probably mimic my voice, and run it through
yeah,
software.
like there's already AI chatbots reconstructing this whole conversation we're having and making us say things we never said. It already exists. The technology is already there.
I mean, I don't know why anybody would want to do it. I mean, I'm not big enough to do it too. I understand when they do it to celebrities, but I digress right there.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, I find it fascinating that this whole thing with that and even how to deal with it because again, I've had in my personal experience, I've had people take interviews and weaponize clips of interviews. And it was two people who didn't like each other, and they were using the same clip in a war against each other. And my response to that is, thank you for making me a superstar.
Yeah, because it was
That was
publicity for you. All this stuff was probably, I'm gonna guess, taken out of context. You know, when you say weaponized, you know, if they said it, if it can be destroyed by the truth, it should be. If they actually said stupid things and they get called out for it, that's on them. But if someone's weaponizing it in your words, that to me, how I envision it, is they're taking things out of context and making it sound like the person said something they didn't.
it wasn't even that. I'll briefly explain this story because it's
Yeah,
fascinating.
because I got to hear this. This sounds juicy.
Somebody said something where they would put anything on a comic cover, including if Dylan Mulvaney was drinking a Bud Light while having the surgery. Pretty controversial take on that, on every side of it. No matter where you stand politically on that, very controversial position. I understood the argument where the person saying, I'm a comic company and I'm going to put whatever's hot and whatever is going to sell a lot of books on the cover. They used the most controversial example at the height of that whole issue. And then what happened is that one party that doesn't like the guest I interviewed said, oh, look, he is a grifter. And then somebody who has an issue with me, who doesn't like the person who had an issue with my guest, then said, oh, Andrew is a puppet for those
Oh,
people.
good Lord. Okay.
Now I'm looking at
I'm
this
sorry.
and everybody's like, what the fuck's up with this man? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's news to me. But when people asked me privately, I said, I can't do anything about it anyway. But it got me a lot of views.
Yeah, no, I'm glad. I'm so happy to hear you reframe it and see it like that. Like, okay, somebody's doing this crazy thing to me, but they're actually giving me great publicity. This is awesome. I got more people talking about my show than ever before. So even, I guess, the old adage, any publicity is good publicity type of thing. So that's a beautiful reframe that you just made there. Good job.
I hope so. But I was just like, this is weird. Where that was my response. Is that like this is so
Hey,
weird?
we can't control what other people do. All we can do is control how we react to it. And you did a beautiful job. So you reframed it.
A lot of people are like, what the fuck's up with this?
Yeah.
Because I'm not controversial in that way. I have crazy ideas, but people are like, you're like the most milquetoast person here. Like, this is the exact opposite of you. And the fact that you're in here, it's like, I gotta watch now. What the fuck just happened? Like, so it is what it is. So, but I digress. I digress. But I am curious though, going a little bit out of Evolve Fights, and we know where my next paycheck's going, but that's not the point here. Um, I mean, there's stuff that I haven't been on your site in like a good like 6 weeks though. So I've been busy. Unfortunately, the NBA takes up a lot of my time. Um, I'm like a professional gambler. Except the Lakers. Oh my fucking god,
I
they're
love it.
pitiful. They're just so pitiful, so pitiful. Oh, I don't want to talk about it. And I'm not even a Lakers fan. Um, it's the worst trade in NBA history is Doncic going to the Lakers. It's a disaster, and me and Lakers fans do not agree on this. They all think it's great. I think it's horrible. Um, we gave up defense for a sub-average player who is not going to stick around. But I digress. I am curious though where you think the adult industry is going, because clearly a lot of shit has changed in the last 20 years.
Yeah, I'm interested. I know we have some people, current politicians, who want to swear by freedom of speech as long as it's not porn, I guess, sometimes. So it's dicey. You never know when they're going to come out with a new thing. Oh, it's legal, but no state will allow it without all these hoops to go through, type of thing. So the thing about technology and entertainment is there's always going to be something popping up, and especially with porn, it always finds a way. So we're always evolving, changing. VHS was the standard way back then, and it's now all digital. So it'll just evolve and change. I'm curious how AI is going to affect some things. I do feel that the personal interaction is so important for just human beings. And I think that in porn, especially, that real human interaction with another real human will always win. But I definitely know that some people are going to use AI to, be able to simplify things and automate things for them. And some people may not get an authentic experience because of that. But in my point of view, if it's real to you, if you feel it's authentic, then that's good. Don't question it. Don't worry about it. Who cares if you're having a good time, But
So let me ask you this, because I'm curious, because I am actually, and this is just me, and I'm an outsider looking in, is that I think OnlyFans is really, really interesting for two reasons. I think it has created dilution, where I think the entry to barrier is so low. Now
yeah.
that doesn't mean success is guaranteed. The road to success is very complicated. To be successful on OnlyFans, it is difficult to say the least. To be successful in the adult industry is difficult, and there's a lot of grinding. There's a lot of potential luck. It's being in the right time at the right place. It's also doing a lot of stuff. It's also finding, I guess, the right niche that you want to be in
Mhm.
to some degree. But I also think that there is a position where we have massive dilution, and it's not just porn and the adult industry. It's a lot of things right now, because technology has lowered barriers and there's no gatekeepers. And I hate to be the guy who says it, but gatekeeping sometimes is a good thing because it controls the ebb and flow. But also, I don't want to not deny somebody the right to do something. So it's like I'm very torn on that. I'm curious how you feel about that, because I'll be honest. Like, we'll use professional wrestling. I don't
Mhm.
want somebody in a wrestling ring who has never suplexed somebody, doesn't know how to take a bump.
Yeah. So I agree with you on this. I have a lot of thoughts on this. So let's start with it. OnlyFans is a low entry thing. Anyone, if you have an ID, if you're over the age of 18, you can open an OnlyFans. But that was everything with porn. Like, there were webcamming sites that were the exact same way. OnlyFans had great marketing. I understand there's some creators on there who are making boatloads of money and it makes it seem easy. But I personally know that it's not super easy to make, millions of dollars in porn overnight. I don't know anyone who's done it overnight. It's usually someone who's been doing it for years, and then they do something that makes them stand out, and then they become known as doing the thing that they did that made them famous. So the problem with OnlyFans is because they sit at home and they're creating content themselves, they're not experiencing what a professional shoot is like. They're not seeing how paperwork is done. They're not seeing how the testing protocols are done. They basically, I'm not saying they're doing it illegally, but they are not abiding by any of the compliance issues when they shoot at home.
There's no OSHA involved.
There's no OSHA. Yeah, there's nothing. There's nothing. Like on my sets, we're wearing gloves and we have protocols for cleaning toys, and we have things, and I wish every company did that, and I know they don't. Even the producers, the clip store producers, don't do a lot of the things they should be doing. So I'm not going to knock the OnlyFans model. I will say the OnlyFans performers who contact me tend to be pretty flaky. They tend to, how do I say, they're very, selfish, for the lack of a better word. They want to know what you can do for them. Oh, you'd shoot this. Okay. Why don't you, okay, I'll give you an example. I shoot Evolve Fights. It's porn. You fuck the loser at the end. I get these girls all the time. I'm an OnlyFans model, but I don't do porn for anyone but my OnlyFans. Can I shoot for Evolve Fights and not do this, not be naked and not do the porn of it? And I'm like, no. Like, if you want to shoot with me, I can shoot a custom video with you if you want to do that on the Evolve Fights mats, but I'm not going to change my entire format of Evolve Fights to accommodate you. I will shoot you and we could shoot a custom, but it's not going to go on Evolve Fights, So they're just not very, well, I can't say it's not professional, because, hey, professionals do that, but they didn't offer me anything like, hey, let me do this and I will promote your Evolved Fights. If I don't have to do, if I don't have to be naked, I will bring in, I will post 20 times on my Instagram and give marketing to you. Like, nothing. They're just like, what can you do for me? How about you shoot me and pay me and give me content? And then no, how about this works out for everybody? Like, offer me something give me something there.
I mean, I've offered a bunch of people stuff. I've said to people, oh, you got, a clothing store? I know how much it costs to print your t-shirt. Why don't you just send me one and I'll wear it on 20 episodes of my show?
Yes, right? You're offering to give something back, not just, oh, hey, do this thing that you don't do and change your entire niche just for me.
I don't ask unless I'm already a customer for something. So, like, obviously we can't see my shirt, but I'm wearing a shirt from Waze. And I reached out to them. I'm like, I know how much it costs to do this stuff. I'll wear Waze and we'll put it right. I'll mention at the start of it. I'm wearing your shirts anyway. And I want, another Michael Jordan shirt you guys do. Why don't you send me one of those and another Yu-Gi-Oh shirt, and like, we're good for a year. Like, it's going to cost you nothing and you're going to get the benefit of it. Yeah. And so it's like, I've said that to people. I've said it to a bunch of other stuff, but like, again, I could tell you the worst guests that I have on this show are female cosplayers. They are by far the worst, because they are the most difficult to deal with booking. Booking them is the worst, and female wrestlers are the worst.
I believe that. Yeah.
Female voice actors are awesome.
Really?
Female comic artists and writers and cover artists, awesome. It's like that group, and females are great. Male cosplayers are also really difficult. They're worse than the females because they're like, I'm a guy and I just don't do this. And I'm like, No wonder why you have a 4% market share of the market, because you're not hustling. It's terrible. Like, the females are bad and the men are worse.
No, no, that's terrible. Oh well, yeah. I mean, it happens. Yeah, people are people. So yeah, I love OnlyFans because I think it's been. Listen, it came big during COVID when a lot of people felt stuck, and it gave them an option and gave them hope. So I'm forever grateful to them for giving people that opportunity. Some people will argue that shooting porn shouldn't be easy, that it's, you're when you make it too easy, it opens the floodgates for innocent people to be abused by it. But, who are we to say what their mental capabilities of processing what they're doing is? I personally do wish the age of getting into adult work was a little bit higher. I feel that, but you know what? I know people who they waited until they were 18, and the day they turned 18 wanted to shoot porn, and it was they were so happy. So, I don't want to be the gatekeeper on that, but
I'll put it this way, right? If I can be drafted to go serve in a war that I want nothing to do with as a 18-year-old male, I should be able to buy a pack of cigs and I should be able to have a beer. And that's how I feel about porn, is that if you're 18 and you can be required to do something to serve your country, then you should be able to do something else that you want to do. If you're 18, you're
yeah,
16, it's not as a non-discussion point,
yeah.
right?
I
So
agree with you. I personally agree with you. I've been in porn 20 years, but I can tell you in my 20 years, I've probably met dozens of performers who got in, loved what they did, and then they left because people shamed them. They dated somebody, they found a new partner who didn't like the work they did and shamed them and made them feel so horrible. They wanted all their content removed. And I just wish there was some way, there could be some, like, whenever somebody asks me personally, hey, what should I know about getting into porn? I give them the whole speech. Your family will find out. If you're not okay with that, don't do it. Like, if you are okay with that, do it. You're meant to do it. But, I feel like you have to prepare people, because everyone says, oh, I want to do this. But then once they get the shame, because, even though there's people like you out there who are so cool and accepting, and you're a beautiful human being for that, there's many, many more who think that people who do this type of work they think we're idiots, that we couldn't possibly be able to do any other job on the planet. And that's why we're forced to do the porn, because we're just so stupid and incapable of crossing the street without getting hit by a car, that the only thing we can do is show our tits and ass.
I
And
mean,
it's like,
I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. It's probably 60-40,
yeah,
where most of you as a collective group are pretty smart, right? But there's also a bunch of you who really can barely make my Starbucks order. I mean, I'm going to be
true.
really
And that
honest.
goes for every single
It does.
job in every
It does.
industry. There, you got brilliant people and you got idiots.
I
And then
agree.
some of those same idiots who couldn't make your drink at Starbucks, they they have potential. They could learn more if they wanted to. If they didn't have this label of you're a piece of shit, you can't do anything, then they probably would do more with their lives. But everyone keeps shitting on them and putting more labels on them, that they're like, you're right. You're right. I'll just prove you right. Why should I bother?
It's also the idea that it's probably less than 40%. It's just that the examples that are crystal clear, and there are a few in this industry, get magnified and then it gets blown out of proportion. That's the problem too, because we all know I'm going to say this the nicest way I could say it, is that there is somebody in the internet who this is really the only job they can do, in which there are jobs that only certain people, and that is their max potential.
I don't
And
think it's their max potential. I think that that's a limiting belief society has put on them or they put on themselves. I don't think they're vegetables. I don't think that they just need to
fair
sit
enough.
in a bed and click a button and that's all they can do. I believe in every single one of them. And I think if we treated people better and saw the potential in them and didn't say, "Oh, that's all you could do." I think if we said, "That's great you're doing this and I think you could do a lot more with it too." I think we could see a bigger change in society in general if we were just nicer to each other on that. But
That's a
I
hard
agree,
ask.
to
That's a
your
hard
point,
ask.
there's
It's a
but
hard ask.
it's a hard ask and the person needs to want to change and wants.
There was a Facebook group by somebody, Ben Dunn, he runs Antarctic Press, which is a comic company. And he said, "What is the one thing we need to change in the comic community?" I said, "Be kinder to each other."
Yeah.
And there was like 90 comments, and that was not in any of them. People
Yeah.
were talking about distribution. People were talking about everything. I said, "Be kinder and nicer to each other." And it got no likes, it got no response, it got nothing, but it's legitly where it starts. I'm not saying that if you're having a bad day and something's going wrong in your life, you have to be, let's be positive today, because you could have a bad day, but it's the idea that, instead of fucking beating the shit out of everybody because somebody's selling more books than you, is you be a team player, or you can say, "Hey, how are you doing it?"
Mhm.
I ask
Yeah.
people all the time, "How'd you do this?" Because I don't know how to do it. And people ask me, "Yo, like, how'd you get this interview?" And I'm like, "I got lucky, and I just kept knocking on doors."
I don't believe in luck. I believe that preparation and opportunity meet, and that's what you get. So, like you said, you kept knocking on doors. That was not luck. You prepared, you went out, and there just happened to be an opportunity, and you seized it. Like you made it happen.
No, no, no. I get lucky. I get lucky in which that, like, one of my favorite interviews is the Bushwhackers, and one of them passed away. Rest his soul. Amazing. But what happened is that I just was in the right place at the right time, and I just met a bunch of people, and then all of a sudden, what happens is that you make something, and then you do something from this, and then all of a sudden, you're just in the right place, and then somebody does you a solid.
My brother, that's not luck. That's preparation. That's the preparation. You did networking. You see it as you were at the right place at the right time. I'm saying you positioned yourself to prepare to network and the opportunity popped up.
It also helps that I'm not an asshole.
It
That
also
helps.
helps that you're not an asshole, which is also part of preparation.
I
You
can be an asshole, and I've been an asshole.
And you should be an asshole because that's part of self-preservation. We all have to be an asshole at some point because otherwise people are going to walk all over you. It's part of, some people might call setting boundaries just being an asshole. And you're like, I don't care. Call me an asshole then. It's just,
But there's always two types of assholes. There's the assholes that you are with your friends, and then there's the assholes of everything else. Me and my friend, that's a different level completely. And the rule is that you hit your friends the hardest. And that's all I'm going to say. And the things that I say, I do not want to say here because it is brutal. What the basic story is, I'll tell it, and everybody's going to kill me for it, and you might kill me too, is that he was being a dick in a night, and he's going legally blind. So he's slowly losing his vision. So I said to him and said, Gabe, you're being a dick. I'm just going to go turn out the lights. And then his response to me is, I'll race you to it because I can't walk physically right. Meanwhile, there's 10 people around us, and they're just looking at us like, how the fuck can you say those things to each other? And you're going to go grab breakfast tomorrow morning in college and lunch and dinner, and everybody like, we're like a married couple, but we're both straight.
No, I love that. You know what? I think those moments mean that like if you can be mean to someone in that fun, campy kind of way, I think that's showing them more respect because the last thing somebody with a disability wants is to have people feel sorry for them and walk on eggshells around them. But you treating them like a normal human being and saying shitty asshole things to them, that's so normal that actually a nice thing to do. Does
He
that make
treats
sense?
me back. He treats me back the same way
Yes,
because he
no,
just
but you give him that normalcy, like, oh, he's not pitying me. He's treating so this is what it's like to have some dickhead. Okay, I like
but he
that.
gave it right back to me, and he understands
I
it
love
because
that. Yeah, see, because
cool.
he appreciates it. It's cool.
It was funny. It was funny everybody's reaction because like I'm
Yeah, they're
looking
all
at
shocked. They're clutching their pearls, and you're like, dude.
some people don't understand. You can hit your friends the hardest. Um,
Exactly.
another two of my best friends are twins. So I say to the one who's born after, to the first, but I say to the first one, I say, if you fail, your brother is the replacement because they're like identical twins,
Yeah.
and that's brutal. But I do want to ask you one more question because it's an
Yeah.
important one.
Okay.
And before I let you promote yourself, and how do you feel about Jen Thomas?
Listen, I love Jen Thomas. She and
I
I
do
go
too.
back. She's listen, as talking about people who have great reputations in the industry, she's one of the best. She does so much for performers. Let's talk about that session wrestling. Going back to that. So Jen Thomas runs sessiongirls.com, which
She's
is a
been on
way,
twice. She's been on
yeah.
twice the show.
Oh, yeah, so you have good taste, yeah. She and that's another thing, right? She's always, she helps out other creators and she's always trying to find a way to help the community. It's never all about her. She's not out there promoting herself all the time. She puts on events that I'm sure are stressful for her and I hear often about horrible issues she's dealing with a nasty webmaster or some stalker. She keeps moving forward though. She keeps doing what she does because it's the right thing to do despite all these weirdo haters out there. So I mean, that's resilience. That's true empowerment. She's awesome. Gotta love her.
I'm just pissed that I didn't invent Session Girls. Oh my god.
Also, you have done sessions before with people. So let me tell you my experience with the session wrestling
Let's
world.
talk about
So
that.
I did when I started training jujitsu, I got massively obsessed with it. Like, oh man, I could have lived on the mats. And if I died during training, it would have been like I knew I was going to Valhalla. It was like my purpose was just to train. And I found out a bunch of the girls that were shooting on some of the wrestling sites I did were doing wrestling sessions. And my first notion was I was judging it. I was like, no, I don't want to meet strangers. Bad things can happen. You get stalkers and weirdos. Or what if they try to molest you or this or that? And so I had my prejudices against it. But as I started talking to my girlfriends who were doing it, they're like, no, it's just wrestling. It's like jujitsu, but in a private room and you just beat the snot out of a guy and it's awesome. So I saw a huge opportunity there where I could practice my jujitsu while I got paid for it. And it was amazing. I loved every second of it. I stopped doing them when I started working at Kink just because my schedule didn't really allow for it. And then when I left Kink and opened Evolve Fights, I never did the session wrestling because I started making good money off Evolve Fights where I was like, I'm making money in my sleep. I don't have to go through all this process of vetting these people before I see them or traveling and seeing, all the things. So it just financially wasn't viable for me to do anymore. But I love that it's a thing. I love that human beings will meet complete strangers to get the shit beat out of them. And I think that's one of the most intimate, cool things we can do for each other. I just love everything about it.
I've never done a wrestling session.
Okay.
I've done other sessions. I've never done a wrestling session.
You're missing out, my man. But other sessions are great too. And I love that our world exists where there's such a variety of sessions that can happen. It's like when I talk to my friends and they say, oh, I'm doing a session, I don't know what that means. A therapy session, a hypnosis session, a wrestling session, a ball kicking session. Like, I don't even know what that means, but I'm all for it.
All I know is that the first session I did, I thought the person was going to be a cop, and I thought I was going to spend like a night in jail.
That's what I thought too for my wrestling session. I was like, they're gonna think it's, but you can wrestle people. It's not illegal to wrestle people. But if there's some hanky panky stuff, maybe I think that might be where.
I'm not going to say who it was on air because I think she'll kill me. But
we don't kiss and tell. We don't need to kiss and tell.
It was a very, very fun experience. Is all I'm going to say.
Tell me the experience without telling me the name.
I don't want to even do that because I don't want too many people to know. It was fun. I had a blast. And
that's fair.
It was good.
That's fair.
It was good. But I'll tell you off air.
Yes. Okay.
You know.
Good. I'll hold you to that.
Up to her and you'll be like, she'll be like, oh, that's what happened. But yeah, no, it's whatever. But we've covered a lot of stuff, and I do want to give you a chance to promote yourself. Obviously, you have social medias, you got Evolve Fights, you got some other stuff coming out. You're busy, and where can people find you? Because
I'm so everyone, if you want to check out the wrestling stuff we've been talking about this whole time, it's evolvedfights.com. That's the mixed wrestling, and the lesbian edition is Evolved Fights Les, L-E-Z, lesbian, evolvedfightslez.com. I'm on let's see, probably the best way to find me for most people is Instagram. And I'm at Jits Fit Chick. So that's JITFITCHICK. And you'll be able to see all my shenanigans on Instagram. And if you want to find me on Twitter for the smut, I'm at Ariel XOXO. And that should cover it. Oh, if you guys happen to want any form of self-help, I am a coach. I'm a certified hypnotist and NLP coach. So I have a coaching website called evolvedlifemastery.com. So if you feel like that's something you're interested in, just check it out. I have a ton of free content, books to download on how to build confidence, how to do good reframing. I have a free hypnosis audio you can download. So check it out, see if it's your thing. And if not, that's fine too. I don't care. I still love you.
And then I'm going to promote myself since it's my show. I am Pop Anime Comics on the Twitter /the X, Pop Anime Comics on Facebook, Pop Anime Comics on the Instagram, or the Gram as it's now known. TikTok, Pop Anime Comics, while it's still up there. YouTube is Pop Anime Comics. I got a bunch of Facebook pages. Most of them are Pop Anime Comics. And as I said before, I run a business and look for comics and collectibles. Come shop with us on eBay, Pop Anime Comics Collectibles. And I carry everything from things like this, which apparently can't be seen. They cannot be seen, these cards. I carry that. I carry books like this in my store. I carry books like this in my store as well. And then I carry a lot of cool stuff like this, which is a rare, expensive Angel Reese card. It's like a $300 card, everybody.
Wow.
Expensive. It cost me I think $50. It's crazy. It's crazy. Don't ask. The WNBA is the shit, guys. I carry 101s, 10s, things like that.
Nice.
And really cool stuff like this where they put base relics in cards. So they put a base from the game in a card. So I do carry a lot of that stuff in there. And and then lately, and I do want to show this one because it's still up there. I think this is the right one. This is my Tiffany Stratton 14 out of 25, which is up, which is a super expensive card. I'm asking I think $250 for it right now up in my eBay store. And obviously I do like basketball because when you jump over a car and dunk the ball into the net, I mean,
is that a real picture? Is that for real?
Yeah, he did.
Oh my God, bless him. I love this.
It was great. He's awesome. 3 times the slam dunk contest, this guy. He's so good. And $7, guys. You get those for $7 in my eBay store. It's awesome. Super excited to have all that stuff. And as I've been saying for a while, if you are looking for something and you can't find it in my eBay store, shoot me a message on eBay. And if I have it, I'll list it. We'll figure out a price. happy to sell it to you. If I don't have it, it either might not exist. And if it doesn't exist, I'll let you know because I have a good handle on all this. And if I don't have it and it exists, most likely I know somebody who does have it, and I will point you in the right direction so you can get what you want. And so that's everything that I got going on. So that's pretty much it. And I'm going to give you the final word.
Okay. Be excellent to each other. Just keep it simple. That's the theme of the site. Just be excellent to each other.
And I don't think I could have said that any better myself. And that is a wrap.
All right.